This is the Ohio AgNet from the Voice You Know at the News You Trust studios, sponsored by BASF and Zidua, the most trusted name in herbicides, providing Ohio soybean and corn acres with up to 2 weeks more residual activity and broad-spectrum weed control. I'm Ty Higgins. Get ready to see the future of farming. Join Ag Revolution for the Ohio Massey Ferguson Roadshow April 9th at the Hancock County Fairgrounds in Findlay. Learn more and RSVP at agrev.com. The soybean industry is seeing some growth in non-China markets, and questions continue after the latest prospective plantings report. This morning's news feed brought to you by Timpte, now factory direct in Sydney. From trailer sales to parts and trailer service, the Timpte team is ready to keep you moving. Stop in today or call 326-206-2062. It's going to take a lot of other countries to make up the difference of what China's not buying of U.S. soybeans, but progress is being made. Let's check in with our weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council and your checkoff dollars at work with Dusty Sonnenberg.
Joining me today is Jim Sutter. Jim is CEO of the U.S. Soy Export Council. USEC is funded by your soybean checkoff as well as the Foreign Ag Service and some matching funds from industry. Jim, let's talk about some successes by the organization.
From our perspective, now just coming back to your exact question, what's a success? We've been very happy to see the growth in non-China markets. That's not to say that China's not important. They're the largest importer in the world. We want to continue to have shipments to China, but we don't want all the eggs in China's basket. We want to have a nice, diverse market where we can ship high-quality, sustainable U.S. soy to.
That's very good to hear. Well, as we look ahead to 2026, a lot of optimism, maybe a little bit of concern to the future. What are some of the challenges you see that lie ahead in the next calendar year, but also some of those opportunities springboarding off what we had in 25?
Yeah, so I think we've continued to see growth in these non-China markets. We're up about 12% year to date to the rest of the world versus where we were last year at this time. So last year was a record. We're up on that this year. The challenge is kind of the same in the China situation. What will that turn out to be? But I have no reason to believe that we won't have the opportunity to ship soybeans to China in the coming year. So I think that will go fine.
Some great things going on behalf of Ohio and the United States soybean farmer. Again, my guest today is Jim Sutter. Jim, CEO of the U.S. Soy Export Council. This update brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff.
Dusty, thank you. Earlier this week, USDA putting out their prospective plantings report, which raised more questions than answers. Here's Joel Penorwood.
Analysis continues over this past week's prospective plantings report from USDA, which showed farmers intend to plant fewer corn acres and more soybeans this spring compared to last year. But that could still be changing, says Mike Zuzolo, president of Global Commodity Analytics.
I think the biggest thing that I keep thinking about, maybe a lot of other analysts, because of the energy crisis that we're starting to feel pretty directly now in the chemicals and in the fertilizer and diesel prices, is that we figured that maybe this acreage report especially would have a best by date or a stale date on it, given the fact that producer decisions are probably still pretty fluid right now. So I think that's at the top of my mind right now. And even if USDA continues down the path of a bigger corn acreage number than what the trade was expecting and a much smaller bean acreage number than the trade was expecting at 84.7 million. That was the big call out or the big shout out in today's report.
Wheat in particular was given quite a surprise as the prediction was much lower than the trade expected. He wonders what other commodities will be planted into those missing wheat acres.
Where are those acres going? Are they going to go into corn? Are they going to go into beans? Does it make sense at this point for it to go into corn? So I think there's a lot of unanswered questions. Last thing I'll say is on that bean acreage number, one of the reasons I also stayed relatively low on the corn acreage number at 93.5. USDA came in at 95.3 was because after the 2012 drought, we have not seen a planted acreage number for corn above 94 million except once other than last year, and that was in 23-24. So to get above 94 million in the last 12 or 15 years is really saying something. And for USDA to do that, given those big acreage numbers last year, really makes me question and scratch my head.
That's Mike Zuzolo of Global Commodity Analytics, online this week at ohioagnet.com. Doug Tenney of Lice Mercantile has his synopsis of the USDA reports. I'm Joel Penorwood reporting.
Joel, thank you. There's a new tool from Corteva helping to take the guesswork out of fungicide timing. I visited with Trenton Brisby recently about it.
We have our new fungicide timing tool, which is an AI data-driven tool we're really excited about. You know, every season there's the uncertainty of weather, disease risk, and I kind of turn this into what I would call the application dilemma for growers. Should I go? Is there disease risk? What's the weather like? When should I go? Should I not go? Like, am I going to get an ROI return, right? And so we've really developed this AI tool that we're helping growers understand the optimal timing of when and where to spray. And we're doing that by bringing in Pioneer Genetics trait scores of disease risk, which is pretty awesome. We're also combining it with their management practices. What's your tillage? What's your as planted data? What's your nitrogen? Are you irrigated, right? Bringing all that together. And then we're bringing in your localized weather to really understand what's happening hour by hour in a 14-day forecast. We combine that together and we have this, what we call a machine learning model, which is the tool where we're measuring leaf wetness. We're also measuring disease risk. So when you bring all this together, we now can tell you the optimal time of when and where to spray to each field. So if you got 50 fields, we're going to tell you each field when and where to go. And we're providing growers a 5-bushel yield advantage over their traditional timing.
You can hear our full conversation in today's featured audio online at ohioagnet.com. Let's check the forecast, brought to you by Seed Consultants, simply better performance, online at seedconsultants.com. Here's Ryan Martin.
I think we're largely precipitation free today, but pay attention to the west. Our next weather system is building in parts of Nebraska, northeast Kansas, Iowa, and Missouri today. It's going to be moving eastward and starting to put into northwest Ohio, some scattered showers and thunderstorms as we move past midnight and before sunrise. Then the rest of your Friday is going to feature hit and miss of scattered showers, more in the west than the east, but this system to our west somewhat falls apart as it gets into Ohio. But rest assured, there's more rain coming. Another system comes out of that same general area and works move through here on Saturday and Sunday morning. I think we can put in anywhere from 0.5 to 1.5 inches of rain out of that. 100% coverage there. Cold to follow that moisture as we go into the first half of next week. Moderating temperatures around Thursday. That leads to rain then following weekend. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thank you, Ryan. The Ohio AgNet continues after this.
Looking for heavy equipment but don't know where to buy? Purple Wave Auction has you covered. Always online and always no reserve. It's your destination for construction or ag equipment ready to work. We even sell semis, trailers, and fleet equipment for your operation. Best part? It's free to join. Head to purplewave.com. That's purplewave.com. Sign up for a free account and start bidding today. Purple Wave Auction, the easiest and most straightforward way to buy and sell equipment.
Hey farmers, planting season is almost here, and Ohio AgNet wants to bring lunch to your farm. Our Feeding Farmers contest is going statewide, and we'll soon be picking farms across Ohio to receive a visit from the Ohio AgNet and free lunch for your farm family and crew. If you'd like us to stop by, get signed up today. Just visit ohioagnet.com/feedingfarmers to enter. Feeding Farmers is brought to you by Ag Revolution, Paradise Energy Solutions, and the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust. Welcome back. I'm Ty Higgins, and for today's featured audio, Joe Everett talks trade and global demand with the U.S. Meat Export Federation.
I'm visiting with John Henners with the U.S. Meat Export Federation. And can you tell us a little bit about the U.S. Meat Export Federation?
Well, Joe, U.S. Meat Export Federation, we're a nonprofit organization, just so you know, and our core mission is strictly exports. So we export the red meat side of U.S. agricultural, so that would be the beef, pork, and lamb. And actually, the U.S. Meat Export Federation is made up of over 300 members who actually do the business. So, and when we look at that, you know, those companies that are actually selling the products, a lot of what we sell as an industry isn't always your bacon or your ribeye steaks or your filet mignon. A lot of that product that we, as an organization, help market overseas is a lot of the variety meats on beef and pork. So variety meats could be a beef tongue to Japan, or a beef liver to Egypt, or simply a pork stomach into Mexico.
And you were just mentioning about the hams going to South America. Can you elaborate on that?
You know, when you look at the whole pork complex, you know, the ham business in the United States, we send a tremendous amount of hams outside the United States for further processing. Mexico is our number one market as it relates to hams, and over 48% of legs and hams are exported outside the United States. And when you think about why the U.S. Meat Export Federation might be at the Commodity Classic, a lot of the corn and soybean industry supports what we do, because at the end of the day, it's an additional amount of corn or soybeans that are being utilized. So every time we send a ham outside the United States, you're sending 17 pounds of soybean meal through that ham, or 1.5 bushels of corn just in that ham piece that gets exported outside the United States. So that's, I think, the underlying story. The 30% of the pork that we raise here in the United States is destined for the international market. So that 30% consumes over 500 million bushels of corn and over 100 billion bushels of soybeans. So that's just on pork, and then you add your cattle. In addition to that, it's expand that whole situation as it relates to soy.
Well, that's a lot of use of our commodities here in the United States. You guys are always working on something. What's some things maybe coming down the pipeline?
I think when you look at new technology and as it relates to red meat, you got to go to innovative countries like South Korea. South Korea is our number one beef market for the United States. And what they've been able to do is they take our beef, a lot of it's served at our restaurants and so forth, highly marbled, corn finished beef. But in addition to that, home meal replacements have really originated in South Korea. And many of the consumers will go in and they'll buy their packaged food already in. The companies that are behind that are really good about shelf life and knowing how many days that home meal replacement can stay in the marketplace.
Again, that was John Henners with the U.S. Meat Export Federation. To hear more of this conversation with John, you can find it today at ohioagnet.com. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Joe Everett reporting.
Thank you, Joe. Markets and analysis after this as the Ohio AgNet continues.
Are you looking for the latest in Ohio agriculture? Well, you can get it all in one place. The Ohio AgNet Podcast. Join us as we sit down with farmers, experts, and ag leaders from across the Buckeye State. From the latest news to interviews that matter, we're here to keep you informed and connected. Whether you're in the tractor, the truck, or the shop, we bring the conversation to you. Search Ohio AgNet Podcast on your favorite app or find it on Facebook or YouTube. Don't miss a minute of the Ohio AgNet Podcast. Subscribe today.
If agriculture is your way of life, you need news you can count on. That's why Ohio farmers turn to Ohio's Country Journal, your source for the latest in crop updates, livestock insights, market trends, and the stories that celebrate country life across our state. Every issue keeps you informed, connected, and ready for what's next in Ohio agriculture. So don't miss a beat. Renew your subscription or sign up today at ocj.com/renew and grow with the publication built for Ohio farm families. That's ocj.com/renew.
Welcome back to the Ohio AgNet. I'm Ty Higgins. Today's market analysis is brought to you by Louis Dreyfus Company, excited to bring a brand new soybean crush facility to Upper Sandusky. Learn more about marketing your beans with LDC at 574-566-2113. Here's Ryan Martin.
Grain markets finished mostly in the red on a Wednesday. However, if you're looking for silver linings, we've got to look at soybeans bouncing off of the lows through the session, finishing only about 1 to 3 cents down in spite of the fact that bean oil had triple-digit losses all day long, finished anywhere from a 131 to nearly 180 lower across the board. I think a lot of that here is all about the buy the rumor, sell the fact, or let down, or fill out however you want on the RVO and SRE talk from last week. Now, on top of that, we did have a significant surprise. Well, it's being talked like one on the corn acres yesterday, but it's interesting. Not so much to me, but the market's starting to talk about the record low farmer response rate of nearly 38% for the surveys of the March report. I know of several farmers that it's still sitting on their desks. They don't care. Why don't they care? Because USDA can't be trusted anyway, right? I'm Ryan Martin.
Ryan, thank you. Markets on the Ohio AgNet brought to you by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance. Online at seedconsultants.com. Corn for May down by a penny and a quarter at 453.5. July 463.5 down by a penny and 1/2. Soybeans for May down 3 3/4 overnight at 1164 3/4. July 1181 down 3.5. And wheat for July down a quarter penny at 608.5. For the Ohio AgNet, I'm Ty Higgins reporting. We'll see you down the road.